This is the way to Paniman in Caramoan in the province of Camarines Sur, and we started the day by watching the sunrise. We were a little bit late, but we were still able to catch part of the sunrise. I'm going to play the original sound for you, and I will stop talking for a while so you can hear the sound of the waves. This is taken by my iPhone 7. I did place the GoPro right in the sand so the waves could break or crash over it, but because it was inside a waterproof case, the sound quality is not very good, so I am not going to play the sound, but I really like this particular footage right here. This was about 6 o'clock in the morning already, and as you have seen, there is not much visitors to this place, which is how we like it. I am not comfortable with crowds, it's a little stressful for me, and there were several visitors that we could see, but not very many, and they were in small, quiet groups, and each group pretty much stayed out of the way of the other groups. It was very respectful. The sand in this beach is a brownish gray and not very fine, but as we go along, you will see how the sand becomes whiter and finer. There is a small fishing village here, but some of these boats that you see are also used for taking tourists island hopping, and that's what we are going to do today. But we went back to the resort first to grab a quick breakfast. But when we got back to the beach, and while our sailors were preparing the boat, we saw that it was about to rain, and it did rain, so we stayed a little bit in this small store by the shore, which belongs to the family of the woman who owns the boat we are going to ride. The rain was quite strong, but it did not come as a surprise because the weather in Camarines Sur is really very unpredictable. Just that same morning, it was sunny. But then the rain let up and we began our trip. We had two sailors with us, and here's one of them. There was this rock formation and others like it a little further out. The Philippines is an archipelago and it has around 7,107 islands. But this one is not an island. An island has to be of a particular size to be called an island, and this one is not it. We stayed close to shore for a while, and here the water is very clear and it's a blue green color. I think that the water is still shallow at this point. It was already 9:29 and we have passed by some wonderful scenery like this one right here. Further on, the water changed color. It became a lighter, brighter blue-green. I think this is called turquoise. And then, once we passed something that's dark underwater, the water became a darker blue color as you can see. At 10:45, we arrived at the sandbar. Those are the floating cottages that you can see over there. Some of the people going around are people who live and work here, and they have fish and other seafood for sale, and they can cook them for you. We had a late start, so there was already water covering the actual sandbar, but the water was only up to the hips, and there is a spot right at the center where the water is only about an inch deep. That dog lives here and he's wading in the water and then eventually swimming in the water so comfortably. It was so much fun to watch. I think that young boy behind him carrying something is his human. Our little beagle Dudai would have liked it here. After a while, it was time to go, and it was just a short trip to this next stop. This one has a row of small huts where people can rest and eat and take a nap. We ate our packed lunch here and bought a little bit of seaweed to eat. This row of huts are on a narrow strip of sand that has the sea on both sides. The sand here is not very white and not very fine, as you can see, but it is very, very soft. Now, because this part is a narrow strip of sand that has the sea on both sides, the end of the island has a sandy tip where the waves crash into each other from opposite directions, as you can see. I found this very intriguing, so I spent time taking videos of this. Eventually, I could not resist the clear, shallow water, so I went in, bringing my little GoPro with me. The sand was really soft, especially underwater, and the water was so clear, although at a distance it looks green. The rest of this part is really just me frolicking around in the water. There was also this dog with a vest and all that who didn't want to go into the water, although his human was trying to get him in. I wonder what he would have done had he seen that other dog just going through the water as if it were nothing. And then it was time to go again, but we took a route that allowed us to pass through this mangrove ecosystem right here. This next island is actually where the TV show Survivor is being shot for this season. Survivor has been filming in different parts of Caramoan for about 7 years now. It is just a very short walk from the beach up to these very large rock formations. The sea has already eroded some parts of the rock. People actually climb the rocks here to have their picture taken. Over there is where people are constructing the set for Survivor, but we are not allowed to go there and take pictures. I walked around a little bit more around the rock formation and saw that people use this part as shelter from the wind because here they can actually start a fire and keep it going. I can imagine that it can get pretty cold here at night because of the wind, but it's quite nice and cozy in here. At the beach, there was someone selling halo halo. Halo halo is a Filipino refreshment that simply means mixed stuff. The ingredients can vary, but usually there's beans and sago and small slices of banana and nata de coco and small bits of leche flan, some small cubes of gelatin, all dumped into a cup, and then there is a lot of crushed ice that is put over it, and a spoonful of ube and a piece of fruit on top, usually mango, and then there's evaporada or evaporated milk from a can as the last ingredient. And then you just dig in with your spoon and mix everything together and eat it that way. It was already about 1:30 in the afternoon at that point. I want to show you the sand here. This is the whitest and finest and softest sand that I have seen today. When it's dry, it almost feels like flour, but it's not as gritty as flour. The particles of sand sort of just roll against each other, but they can clump together just like flour. It's that fine. And once it mixes with the water, like when the waves crash into the shore and stir up sand, it all looks like when you put powdered cream or powdered milk in water in your cup and swirl it around, although, of course, the sand does not end up dissolving in the water like powdered cream or milk does. Next, we went to the next island, which is really just this sort of cove with the tiniest beach I have ever seen. We did not stop over here because there was not much beach to stand on, although we did stay around in the boat for a few minutes before leaving. This part is not so windy because there were rock formations all around. It's very secluded and just a little bit scary. At that point, the waves started to get much bigger, and it was actually a little scary because sometimes the boat would bounce high up because the crest of a wave just passed under it. We got splashed a lot. It was scary, but actually kind of fun. All of the safety measures were in place. We had life vests on, and our sailors knew what they were doing, but we still decided to head back already because the sailors said that the waves were only going to get bigger later that afternoon. I wasn't able to take a video of the worst part of the big waves because vlogging was the last thing on my mind at that point, but I was able to get this footage when the waves became a little smaller. I did not speed up this video clip at all so that you can appreciate for yourselves exactly what we saw from the boat, and I'm also going to play the original sound with this. I'm sure by now you get the idea of our experience. And we all arrived back in one piece. It was a little past 3 p.m. when we got back to that little store from earlier in the day to leave our payment for the boat ride and to use the bathroom. It has been a really fun day for the family.